Hello and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. My name's Hannah and I make a lot of commentary content specifically about anti-MLM or anti-multi-level marketing, but recently I've also added a series called Influencer Insanity where we cover all things social media and influencer culture. But for today's video, I have the OG series, MLM Horror Stories. These are viewer submitted stories of experiences that they have had with MLM companies and with people in MLM companies. These experiences can range from horrific to traumatic to funny to silly, but in any case, there is no shortage of entertainment with things that go on in the multi-level marketing industry. I've got 5 great stories for you today, so without further ado, let's get into it. This one says, my email address is my name, but I would like to stay anonymous even though I changed no identifying details of my story whatsoever. So MLM lady, if you're out there listening, this one's for you. Hi Hannah, I've been watching your channel for a couple of years now and I always really enjoy your point of view. I respect your commitment to the truth, diligence in research, and the kindness you maintain while simultaneously demolishing MLMs and those who serve them. And of course, the cats. Can't forget the cats. I've had many run-ins with MLM boss babes over the years, but none of them have been noteworthy enough to share until today. I'll preface by saying it's not exactly horror as much as it's just not socially acceptable behavior whatsoever. I work from home and I get many solicitors knocking at the door, which I started to ignore because I'm usually busy and probably don't want what they're selling anyway. Today, my doorbell rang, which I did not answer the first time, but my dogs continued to bark like crazy, which indicated that the person was still standing at my door. The bell rang a second time. Intrusive thoughts told me to answer it because what if it was the police or a child in need? Unfortunately, it was neither of those things. Instead, I was greeted by a woman who I'd never seen before standing on my porch looking a bit disheveled. Hi, I dozed off while driving and I hit your mailbox. Oh? Several questions came to mind, but I just let her explain why she was so tired while I listened for any slurred speech. Hello, family trauma. She seemed normal, but Hannah, as we know in this community, things are not always what they seem. I did appreciate the fact that she stopped to give me her information, and I'm incapable of confrontation of any kind, so I asked if she was okay and I stepped outside. I looked over the mailbox and we exchanged phone numbers. The damage was minimal and I was able to bend it back into place no problem. It really didn't seem worth a police report or an insurance claim. Side note, my husband is very bummed out by this judgment call. Whoops. Anyway, I told her everything was good and I expected that to be that. If it were me, I would have left before anyone changed their mind. As I walked into the middle of my yard to retrieve her entire side mirror, she said, "Let me give you a sample to make it up to you." Oh no. It was only then that I noticed the decal on her back passenger window. Have you heard of Mary Kay? No, this sneaky little snake got my number when I was thinking this was just going to be about mailboxes. I told her that yes, I had attended a party once as part of a bridal shower, and immediately her face dropped like I had just rained all over her parade. In an extremely disappointed tone, she asked if I already had a consultant. Wait a minute, shouldn't I be the one upset considering you just roughed up my mailbox with your car? She had me feeling bad for her. For reasons that I will never understand, I told her that no, I don't have a Mary Kay consultant. She launched into a tirade of questions about my skin type and what products I use. Miss Ma'am, do we not remember about how 3 minutes ago you mounted my curb and struck my mailbox? As I looked around for signs that I was in the twilight zone, she continued to gab on about how wonderful her products are. I'm a pretty patient person, but at this point I started to get annoyed that she was wasting my time while I was supposed to be working. I handed her side mirror back to her, took my samples, and told her that I needed to get back inside. As I headed in, I turned back around to see her backing out of the driveway and I locked eyes with her son that I didn't realize was in the back seat the whole time. His eyes told me that this was not his first rodeo. Seconds, and I mean seconds after I closed the door, I received a text. Hey, my name, it's her name. So nice to randomly meet you, haha. Have a great rest of your day and I'll be in touch to see how you like / if you have any questions about the skincare. Did we not have the same life experience just then? This wasn't a random little meet cute. You dented my mailbox and left a tire mark in my front yard. In what universe is it totally okay and normal to use destruction of property as a sales opportunity? Was all of this just an elaborate ploy to sling skincare products I don't want? I haven't replied to the text because what does one say in a situation like this? It truly boggles my mind. That's where the story ends, at least until she inevitably sends a follow-up text to ask how I liked the samples. They were in my trash can almost as fast as she sent me that text. I'm now now convinced that she lied about falling asleep at the wheel. She was most likely texting and driving just like she was the instant she left my driveway. Using her reckless driving and child endangerment as an excuse to talk skincare is so weird. In the moment, I was thinking there's no way this is happening right now. I actually had a little bit of secondhand embarrassment for her. We hear it on your channel all the time, but this encounter showed me that there really aren't any lines a hun won't cross to make a sale. Thank you for reading. Keep your head on a swivel for MLM huns and stay awake at the wheel. You know, I think you might be onto something with the whole texting and driving situation. That seems a lot more plausible than falling asleep at the wheel, especially considering it was midday, she had her kid in the back, and that she texted you instantly after leaving your house while you know she was behind the wheel of a moving car. Did you not learn your lesson just a second ago? I'm sure it was an accident that she hit your mailbox, but it's completely irrational and strange to take that opportunity to have that conversation with somebody and then veer it in a completely different direction of trying to sell them skincare. As you said, there aren't any lines that these people won't cross, and it's bizarre and it doesn't make any sense to people who aren't in an MLM. She was like, hey, sorry about the mailbox, but while I've got you here, any interest in Mary Kay? No, lady. It's like the brain is rewired differently when you're in these high pressure sales environments where you've got goals to meet and quotas to hit and money to make, and everybody you come in contact with is an opportunity for you. Mary Kay isn't a door-to-door sales MLM, but somehow, some way, a Mary Kay rep showed up on your doorstep and tried to sell it to you. I'm glad your mailbox is okay. This makes for a pretty funny and entertaining story, so thank you for sending it in. This story says, hi Hannah, I was just thinking about your videos and how lucky I am that my mom raised me with the fear and knowledge of MLMs and to dodge the products when I remembered that she has an MLM horror story, which is kind of an ongoing situation. My parents have a little free library in front of their house. If you're not familiar with it, here's a good link. I am familiar with that actually. My neighborhood has one too, and just a few weeks ago we picked up Quantum Physics for Babies, which was so funny. It was like the only toddler-friendly book that they had in there, but it's really hilarious. I'll put a picture of it right here. It made me laugh when I saw it, but that's what we took recently. It's officially registered and my dad built it for my mom and she manages it, basically just sorting the shelves, cycling in a good mix of books for all ages, and now pulling out junk other people are putting in it. At first it was just religious bookmarks that made my formerly Catholic mom uncomfortable, and then it was like known cult pamphlets. To each their own, but not in my mom's little library. This is for the other book people and the kids down the street. She takes this very seriously. Her childhood dream was to be a librarian and she will persevere. So this is probably 4 to 5 years into my mom having the little free library. We had a couple of giant Bibles taking up space that we had to pull out, but nothing too crazy going on. And then some paparazzi rep left some earrings and their card. Ma'am, we don't know you. What made you think this was the place? My mom has an info card that specifically says this is for books, so I don't know what she was thinking. So my mom felt really stuck and we had to hash out what to do. Obviously, somebody desperate enough to leave merchandise with their card is probably not doing too hot in the pyramid. Allegedly, in my opinion. Don't sue Hannah. So it's probably someone who got tricked into joining and overinvested and is just trying to find a way out. Or at least that was our perspective. On the other hand, who just does a dead drop in a little free library? Like, ma'am, you don't know us. You didn't ask us. We would have said no. Why did you think that was appropriate? Imagine doing that at the front of a real library or just someone's house. That would be weird. So my mom takes the jewelry out and then starts a pile to give away on the Buy Nothing group sometime in the future in a group mixed with other jewelry so the rep's feelings won't get hurt or she doesn't notice. My family is super eco-friendly. We can't throw away anything, even if it's just junk. Oops. And then, same rep, new jewelry, new card in the little free library. Pushing over books to fit it like a display. The front window is glass. Now my mom is pissed because it looks like she sells trash. It didn't help that it was 6 pieces this time and some of them were broken, like a watch that had a broken face. So my mom cleaned it out and put it in a pile for the Buy Nothing group. Frustrating. Maybe she'll get the message that no one wants her stuff. The hard part about it was that we can't even tell who this person is. Sure, we have a card, but how do you start the conversation when you don't know where this person lives? She definitely knows where you do, and she's threatening you with all of her crap. So a week later, my mom feels a little guilty, but she feels free of the, what the hell is this bag by our front door? Oh my god, she dropped off another bag of garbage and damaged merchandise at the front door when the library is on the curb far from the house. Listen, my mom survived all the MLM eras. She was a small town girl living in a Mary Kay and Tupperware world. She taught me how to deflect any Scentsy family members or damsel in defense reps in college. I have physically blocked reps coming into my house, and I have since 13 through adulthood received Scentsy products that I'm allergic to every year for Christmas from one aunt who we can't tell if she used to be a rep or is supporting a rep. We have absolutely no clue what to do with paparazzi reps decluttering into our front yard. The rep stopped dropping off stuff at our house after I think the second bag at our doorstep. It had additional random crafting junk. We hope that she's done with whatever she had left and she's getting out, but my mom is still stressed that she's gonna try again, and this lady obviously has no issue walking up to our house. And something that is just now occurring to me with your story is, I wonder, does this paparazzi rep think that the jewelry is just being snatched up super quickly by other people in your community and that she's dropping the stuff at your doorstep so you can like restock it on a regular basis? I would have to assume that she's not getting the hint that your mom took the stuff out herself. At least I would hope that she wouldn't be that persistent in dropping off more and more and more stuff closer and closer and closer to your front door unless she thought that it was appropriate to do that in some manner. Maybe she thought, oh my gosh, people in the neighborhood are just loving this jewelry, and I guess if it's going to good homes, then I'll just like drop off my inventory so the organizer of the free library can just keep it stocked on a regular basis. I am hoping that that was her mind frame and she misinterpreted the situation, and that she wasn't just piling more and more and more of her crap onto you knowing that you didn't want it. Do you see what I'm saying? I would love to be able to give her the benefit of the doubt with that one. Still really frustrating and annoying to have somebody else like drop off their junk and make you deal with it now, but I'm really hoping the intentions were good, whatever they were. Side note, do you have any idea if there's a return policy for paparazzi reps that received damaged merch? Do they get to pick out what they get? I was trying to guess how she got in this position. Sadly, I don't actually know that. I guess I could look up their return policy really quick. Okay, so I found a document about paparazzi's return policy, and the first line says, consultants' right to return paparazzi merchandise are limited. So not off to a great start. It says only merchandise with manufacturer defects may be returned. You have to request a return merchandise authorization in order to be able to return it. And if you do want to return merchandise, it says that you have to do so within 3 business days of the day you received it in the mail. So it shows up on your doorstep and you have 3 days to request a return, and past that, it's not possible to return it. And then later it says that any items received by the returns department that can be easily repaired will not be accepted. So basically, no, you don't get to return anything to paparazzi. And this is an inventory-based MLM, meaning that the consultants have to purchase these pieces wholesale and then they have them in their possession to then resell to their customers. A lot of MLMs these days just go through the website model, send the commissionable link, place the order, get the credit, that kind of thing. Paparazzi is kind of old school in that sense that they physically hold the inventory and ship it off themselves. So in saying that, it would not surprise me in the least if paparazzi reps have an abundance of inventory that they can't sell and they don't know what to do with. It was most likely old or stale inventory that she couldn't sell, or ideally maybe she was looking to get out of the MLM and just get rid of all of her inventory altogether. If that's the case, I would wonder why she wouldn't just donate it instead of putting it in a little free community library. But wait a minute, she had a business card. If she's including the business card with the jewelry, then one could assume that she is actively running the business, right? She wants her name and phone number and information out there for customers. So now I'm really confused. She's looking to give away these pieces for free while she's also actively participating in the business opportunity. So now I would assume that this is probably just like really old stuff that she can't sell that nobody wants, or that's damaged, like you said. Regardless, it's weird. It's strange. Don't do that. My mom couldn't get much to move on the Buy Nothing group, so I donated it to the craft thrift store I go to that will scrap the jewelry for parts. The parts aren't that great, to be honest, so I don't know how much they were able to use. My mom refused to keep any because she didn't want anyone to recognize MLM jewelry, and it also isn't quality enough that either of us can wear to work. Thanks for listening. Most MLM people aren't inherently doing these weird things. It just kind of comes with the business model that you're gonna have to throw some social etiquette out the window. And that was all for your story, and I do agree. I don't know where this story is going to fall in the lineup of this video, but there is another story in here where also a Mary Kay rep was behaving in ways that are not typical of someone who wasn't in an MLM. I think what you said towards the beginning of your story really wraps up my thoughts nicely, that if you were going to leave free merchandise in this community little free library, then you must not be doing that well in your business. If you just have things to give away in some kind of like desperate sales attempt because you're attaching your business card to it, that's not looking very good. good. And you gotta give her credit, she was being creative with that inadvertent sales pitch, but that's also sad. The creativity in that kind of has a sad tone because it comes off as desperate. And I do feel sad for her that perhaps sales weren't being made very frequently the traditional route, like selling them to your friends and family or setting up at a craft fair, or sometimes paparazzi reps will do like Instagram live streams and stuff. And it's sort of like, if we're at the point of giving away free stuff in someone else's community library, then things must not be going well in all of the traditional sales avenues. Inventory-based MLMs can be really dangerous because they require you to purchase inventory to sell, and that's exactly how people lose a ton of money. And if she's got all this free stuff that she's willing to give away, that's almost proof that she does have a backstock of inventory that she has spent money on. So I hope for her sake that she can discover that paparazzi is probably not what's best for her or her finances, and that she can leave it behind in the future. Thanks for sending in your story. This one says, hello, I wandered onto your channel randomly the other day and it made me think of an experience I had a few years ago. When I was 26, I met a man who attended a local group I frequented. He seemed different than the other guys in the group. As opposed to the other guys who were always in baggy t-shirts trying to decide what to do with their lives, he always wore suits and seemed to have it all figured out. He was always confident, always had a quick smile and a turn of phrase that made everyone around him comfortable. We started hanging out in the same friend group, and although we weren't friends, we were at least friendly acquaintances. One day he invited me to dinner at his house. He was going to have a group of friends over so he could make his grandma's world-famous Sunday dinner. I agreed. Traffic the day of was lighter than I expected, so I showed up a few minutes early. I was surprised at his home. It was a nice house in the downtown of our local city, which did not have a cheap cost of living. I wondered how a 29-year-old could afford something like that. When I complimented him on his house, he thanked me and said that it's easy to make money. Most people just don't realize how. I asked how he did it, and he responded that he started an MLM. He explained that he noticed lots of people were dying of heart disease, so he wanted to change that. He told me he got some people to invest in a machine that would measure if you had plaque buildup around your heart. If the machine found that you had too much, then he has a shake that you could drink that would clear your arteries, give you more energy, and help you feel healthier. He asked if I wanted to see the machine, and I told him yes. He went to his closet and he pulled out, drumroll please, a pulse oximeter. I stared at him. For those who don't know, a pulse oximeter is a small clasp that goes around your finger. It has an LED light inside that shines through your fingertip and measures your pulse as well as your blood oxygen saturation level. What he didn't know is that I've worked in healthcare since I was 18 years old. I started as a nurse's assistant, worked my way through school, and was currently working at a heart hospital. What are the odds? We use pulse ox machines on every patient when getting their vital signs. There is no possible way to measure plaque or blockages with a pulse ox machine. I suppose you could technically see if someone's pulse wasn't normal, but a higher pulse could be attributed to being sexually aroused or exercise. A lower pulse could be from being relaxed or sleepy. He'd asked if I'd seen one of these before he put it on my finger, and I told him yes, I used one every day, multiple times a day for the last 8 years. When he found out that I worked at a heart hospital, his confidence seemed to waver. He looked at the pulse ox and said, wow, you're super healthy, no blockage at all. Guess I shouldn't sell a shake to ya. He quickly took it off my finger and put it away. A few minutes later, other people arrived. For a few minutes, the dinner was normal, and then he started talking about his product again and how proud he is that he's saving lives. One of the attendees even testified how she was taking the shakes and felt so much better than she had before. I didn't even know how much plaque was around my heart. This girl was 28 and maybe 130 pounds when she was wet. I would guarantee she doesn't have blocked arteries. Yes, you can be skinny and have problems with your heart. I'm not saying that you can't. My point is that this guy freaked her out for no apparent reason. She said that she's now selling it too because she wants everyone she knows to be healthy. I left shortly after dinner ended, absolutely disgusted. Looking back, I probably should have said something. I knew it was bogus. I felt awkward calling him a liar in his own home though, so I just left. I was just so grossed out that he would use people's fear of heart disease to sell shakes and make people think that they had heart problems when they didn't. It really was brilliant though. Pull out a medical item that is easy to carry around and looks very official, say they have clogged arteries, and have them take the shake. Even if they go get checked out and find that their arteries are clear, well, isn't it a miracle? The shakes worked and your arteries are back to normal. Sarcasm, obviously. The scariest part about the whole thing for me is that this guy was such a smooth talker that for about 2 seconds when he was talking to me, I thought to myself, maybe they've updated the pulse ox. I mean, he seems so passionate about what he's doing. Then I shook myself internally and asked myself why I was questioning what I knew. I can't imagine anyone who's not familiar with healthcare healthcare being put in a position where they get terrified that they're going to die if they didn't take this guy's stupid shakes. The sad thing is, I've kept up with this guy through social media, and he's currently a millionaire living in the Philippines, so his awful scheme worked for him. Thanks for talking about this. I truly hope that all the MLMs that are just modern day snake oil salesmen get put out of business soon. And then that's not all. A couple months after you sent this email, you sent a follow-up email that said this: "Hello Hannah, I decided to write you again after doing more research. I never thought much about the man I had dinner with after the event because I was busy with life and he moved away short thereafter. Having written to you and watched your channel, however, I decided to see if I could get more details on what the company was called. I went on the man's LinkedIn and found out that he lied. He didn't actually start the company, although he claims in his LinkedIn to work as a higher executive position in the company. I don't want to dox him, so please don't put his name on your channel, but for your benefit, if you want to do any research, his name is blank. The company is a lesser-known MLM called Former. They have a drink called Cardio Cocktail that claims to improve your gut health, help you have better sex, improve your blood pressure, your energy, and your cognition. To the company's credit, I wasn't able to find anywhere that they claimed on the website that you could figure out if your heart was healthy simply by using a pulse ox, so he may have made that part up on his own. Regardless of whether he started the company or not, it still really grosses me out thinking back on it, and how easily he tried to play off the emotions and fears of those around him that they might have heart disease. Have a great day." Thank you for taking that extra step and finding out what the name of the company was called. I have never, ever heard about this company Former before, and the truth of the matter is there are likely hundreds of companies that I've never heard of, never talked about on my channel, so I'm always grateful when instances like this come up and I'm able to talk about new, lesser-known companies. I did a little digging on their website, and yes, they are 100% an MLM. Their compensation plan is very pyramid structured. It shows how you make more and more money the more and more people you recruit and the higher in the ranks you go. Very typical MLM. And of course, they've got the signature health product with the outrageous health claims that it'll cure everything in your life, right? Classic MLM. It checks all of the boxes. I just can't get over how perfect it is that he has you in his house and he's showing you this magical, revolutionary machine, and then he finds out that you use this thing every day at your job and that you've been working at a heart hospital. I would love to know the internal panic that just rushed through his body in that moment, because I'm sure there's a lot of instances in which he gets away with that kind of bogus claim, right? But not to someone who actually knows what they're talking about. I hope that every time he makes that product pitch in the future, he thinks back to this time and he feels a little bit silly about it. But at the same time, it doesn't sound like he has a problem lying because he told you that he started the company or he founded it or whatever. But regardless, he kind of admitted to the fact that a way to make a lot of money and to live a very comfortable life is to start an MLM, or to at least be near the very top of it. That's pretty wild. Thank you for this story. This one says, "Hi hon, couldn't help myself. My name is blank, but I'd like to remain anonymous, please. Sorry in advance if this is long. Content warning for disordered eating and postpartum struggles. In late 2017 or so, I stumbled on a creator that I ended up subscribing to and loved her videos for years. At her peak, I think she had close to 200,000 subs. I then got pregnant in early 2019 at the age of 19, and she did a lot of mommy vlogger content. Don't crucify me, I was so unaware of how unethical mommy vlogging was at the time. And she was a young mom as well, which was so soothing to me as I was still in undergrad, unwilling to waver on my goals, and I was so uplifted by her success as it gave me hope. I did graduate with my bachelor's 2 years later, yay. Good for you, that's amazing. I had sort of fallen off of YouTube during the latter portion of my pregnancy and most of 2020. I came back at some point, maybe late 2020, unclear on the timeline. I'm pretty sure I was in an endless blur my daughter's first 2 years. And I noticed that her content had shifted significantly. Apparently she did a huge wipe of all the previous content because she went through a divorce and her ex-husband was not okay with the children being filmed. Valid. She needed a new niche and it was weight loss. Enter Beachbody. She had lost a significant amount of weight while I was gone. I'd held on to about 50% of the baby weight from the year before and my view on my body was at an all-time low. I saw this girl who I saw as such a hope in my pregnancy and she was doing so well, so I messaged her. It was one of those classic comment join for info about joining my team, which side note makes me feel so embarrassed looking back that I fell for this. My hatred for my body and terrible self-esteem, coupled with the fact that she had been my comfort creator during one of the most challenging periods of my life, was the perfect storm. I messaged, we voice memoed back and forth for a total of a few hours, and I joined. I did the program, completed all the workouts, drank the disgusting shakes, and ate like a damn rabbit. Unsurprisingly, I lost a bit of weight, but I'm talking like 5 pounds. After finishing, she sent out a message basically saying, "Don't wait until until you lose all the weight, join my team of coaches and start earning money now. A, ew. B, this is what it took for me to realize that I had just given an exorbitant amount of money to an MLM for 5 pounds and an even harsher view on my body. I don't know why, but I thought this was a small business kind of thing and that maybe she got a small commission off of the shakes. No idea why I thought that, but when I realized what I fell for, I was so disappointed. I was disappointed in myself for falling for it and in her for choosing this path and what felt like exploiting my post-baby body issues, as she knew what I was going through and she even compared me to her. Side note, I had also told her upfront that I had anorexia prior to my pregnancy. In retrospect, I feel like she should have cut it there, but they never do. I never responded, though I continued to get emails and DMs for a while. I was so saddened, and I am still, as she's still in the group. Thanks for hanging in there with this one. It feels so good to get the shame out of my head and to share it with others, even if it's just the endless void that I'm sure your inbox is. By the way, I'm not sure who needs to hear this, but I didn't need a weight loss program. Honestly, I needed therapy. Postpartum is such a vulnerable time, and guess what? I lost the weight eventually, not by starving myself, but by realizing I actually like cooking with my kid and found out that I loved hiking. Who knew that exercise didn't have to be torture? What you need isn't someone telling you what to eat down to the calorie or the workout videos that you have to do. What you need is love and grace for yourself. Even if I hadn't lost the weight, my value would be just the same. Eventually, I learned that lesson, so this does have a somewhat happy ending. Thanks again. Keep up the awesome content. I think the biggest aspect of your story that I want to point out is the parasocial relationship of it all, where you're watching this creator's content and you feel like you know everything about their lives, you're being let in on all of the details of their lives, you feel like you relate to them on some level, and so then when you go into the DMs and you're voice memoing with this creator that you watch and that you feel like you know really well, and they're interested in getting to know you, and they're telling you that they have this great program that's going to bring you the results you're looking for, that is a form of manipulation in itself. You might feel like you know that creator on a more personal level, almost like a friend, but she doesn't know you in that same way, and the conversation you're having is transactional so that she can make money off of you. It's always so sad when you follow somebody that you look up to or you admire for some reason, and then they get into an MLM, because you know from that point forward everything changes. They have that ulterior financial motive now with the MLM to make more money off of their followers. But in the same vein, it's also sad because somebody had to prey on her in that same way too. She's in somebody else's downline. They pitched it to her. Probably in terms of, hey, look, you've got this built-in following, you've got 200,000 subscribers already in your content. If you just start documenting your postpartum weight loss journey to your followers, then there you go. You can make a lot of money off of them really quickly. And I'm really sorry that that strategy did work in your case, but I don't blame you for it at all. There's so many physical and emotional and mental changes that go on in the postpartum period that can make women vulnerable to these kinds of sales pitches to get your body back or to get back on track. And as somebody who's personally on that journey right now, I'm a 1.5 years postpartum myself, I can attest to how hard it is to really feel like yourself again, and that it does take so much time, and that's okay. So I love how you wrapped up your email by saying that. I 100% agree with it. There are ways to get back to feeling like yourself without joining an MLM or without supporting an MLM. And at the very bottom of your email, you did give me this person's username. I'm not going to post it here, but I did go poking around on her social media a little bit, and here's what her link tree has in her bio. This feels pretty problematic. It says, my weight loss program, which you click that button and it redirects you to go join her Beachbody team. But then below that, it says business mentorship, become a weight loss influencer. So the way I'm reading this is like, here's the program if you want to be a customer, here's the business mentorship if you also want to be a weight loss influencer like me and promote Beachbody to other people and recruit people. I have never seen it phrased weight loss influencer before. That is nuts. To me, this means join my team and lose a bunch of weight on Beachbody and then post about it on your social media so you can prey on other people's vulnerabilities so that they join our team too, and we can keep the endless chain of recruitment going. Framing being a Beachbody MLM hun as being a weight loss influencer is something I have never seen before. First time for everything, I guess. But good for you for realizing that this was an MLM and then choosing to leave it behind and finding other ways to get back to feeling like yourself in ways that you now enjoy. I think that's fantastic. Thank you for writing writing in your story. This story, the subject line says, MLM horror story, the time I yelled at a Norwex hun. And it says, hi Hannah, my name is blank, but please keep me anonymous if you choose to read this for a video. I live in an area where MLMs are so prevalent that I can't even begin to list them all. I've been very against MLMs for years, but I had no idea the anti-MLM community existed until YouTube suggested your Influencer Insanity series to me. I was so excited to find out how many people hate MLMs. Yes, there is a massive population of people out there who dislike MLMs. And welcome, you're in good company. About 5 or 6 years ago, my mom was invited to a Norwex party. She didn't want to go to the party by herself, so she convinced me to come with her. It was my first MLM party, so I had no idea what to expect. My mom won a door prize for being the only person to bring a guest, which at the time I felt kind of guilty about because I was a broke college student and clearly wasn't going to be buying anything, so I didn't see myself as someone worth wasting a free product on. And for any listeners out there who don't know what Norwex is, this is an MLM company that sells mostly cleaning products. Specifically, I feel like their flagship product is this microfiber cloth. They claim that it's like antimicrobial or antibacterial or something like that, where if you use it on a surface with just water, it's gonna clean it just as well as any actual cleaning solution would. And they've got all kinds of really crafty experiments and demonstrations that they do to sell this cloth. This seems to be like their best-selling product or the thing that people think of first when they picture Norwex. And I'll also say that a microfiber cloth is not a new or revolutionary idea. There are so many of them on the market, but this one, it's called the Enviro cloth and it goes for $22.99 for one of them. And lots of people like to use microfiber towels when they're cleaning, but just for reference, if you search this on Amazon, there's one right here that says a 12 pack for $12.98 or a 50 pack for $14.99. These are not expensive products by any means, but Norwex sells them at an exorbitantly high price, and they have these crazy claims that it'll do all the cleaning power of an actual cleaning solution just using water. Just a little bit of backstory on what this company is and what they sell. And back to your story, you say, Norwex Lady started her pitch and the host of the party was super excited for all of us to learn about the products. Norwex Lady did all the usual gimmicks like showing how the cloths cleaned and disinfected without any chemicals, by putting a piece of raw chicken on the counter and then using the Enviro cloth to clean the counter, and using a swab to test for protein left behind from the chicken. Yes, I have seen this experiment done on social media before. I know for a fact that I've included it in my MLM Top Fails series, and this is a big portion of their demonstration where they go and they buy these test kits online where you can swab for all different kinds of bacteria and stuff, and they use that to show you that there's no bacteria or residue left behind after they clean with the Norwex cloth. Also, yes, I can confirm that some Norwex hun I have known will go as far as to lick a cutting board after cleaning it with the cloth, but thankfully this one didn't. No one wants to watch you lick a cutting board. At this point, I interrupted her to ask if it was safe for people with food allergies and cross-contamination, not because I was interested in the product, but because I was starting to connect the dots in my head. The woman hosting the party clearly believes in Norwex products and uses them exclusively. My mom and I both have severe food allergies and will go into anaphylactic shock. As we snacked on appetizers, I realized in that moment that I didn't know if it was safe to eat anything prepared in this person's kitchen. Norwex Lady admitted that she wasn't 100% sure, which is something I feel like she should have known the answer to. But I always appreciate people erring on the side of caution. Thankfully, there were no allergic reactions that night. Next, she sprinkled Glow Germ onto a plate. For those not familiar with Glow Germ, it's a product used to teach people, mostly kids, about hygiene and good hand washing techniques. The product is not entirely visible to the naked eye, but can be seen using a UV light. For example, if you were teaching kids how to wash their hands more thoroughly, you would put the Glow Germ on their hands and then have them wash their hands like they normally would. After they wash their hands, you shine the UV light on their hands to show all the spots they missed and how germs linger in places like your knuckles and under your nails. It's a powerful teaching tool that I really enjoy using with the kids I work with. Glow Germ also makes a product for cleaning surfaces, which is what Norwex Lady used. She got out a typical household cleaning product, which was clearly Clorox wipes, but had a piece of purple paper taped over the label as if we wouldn't be able to identify the mysterious product. Norwex Lady then did a half-assed job of wiping the Glow Germ off the plate with a Clorox wipe and explained that Clorox wipes state on the bottle that you're supposed to use the product long enough to keep the surface you are cleaning wet for 5 minutes. This will be important later. She showed us how much Glow Germ was still on the plate after using the Clorox wipe and then used the Norwex cloth. She was carefully wiping up every last bit of the Glow Germ before showing us how great the Norwex cloth cleaned the Glow Germ. I squirmed in my chair, but I held it together. At this point, almost everyone was sold. One woman was so interested that Norwex Lady said that she could sell Norwex herself. Not understanding how MLMs worked at the time, I was perplexed as to why she'd be trying to recruit someone. If this were a normal business, another another salesperson in the same market would not be in Norwex Lady's best interest. A very good point to show how MLMs kind of go against common sense. You're completely correct that it is counterintuitive to have more people in your same geographical area doing the same job you're doing, because that makes more salespeople than there are customers. And in my opinion, this just kind of goes to show that MLMs are not necessarily about the selling of products, but more about the recruitment of others. We know that one way to make money in an MLM is by selling the product, but the more lucrative way to make money is to recruit others. And the compensation plan tells us that story too. Norwex Lady was successful in recruiting this woman that night and once again multiplied the number of MLM Huns in my life. I was also utterly confused as to why my mom bought a couple of cloths. My mom has always been a very thrifty shopper, so why would she spend so much money on a product when she could go get a similar product much cheaper somewhere else? My mom also signed up to host her own party. I'm not sure how she went from not wanting to go to the party in the first place to then buying an overpriced cleaning product to hosting a party. Part of me thinks it was another prize, but I may be making that up, trying to just make sense of the situation. While we were at this party, everyone there told us that we just had to go to the cooking class in a few weeks. Apparently, Norwex Lady and Epicure Lady would be having a joint party. The idea was that Epicure Lady would have a cooking class and Norwex Lady would wrap things up by showing how easy it was to clean a kitchen after cooking using Norwex. And Epicure is also one of the lesser known MLMs, and they sell mostly kitchenwares and specifically spices. All of their products center around cooking and the kitchen, but they also have a line of seasonings and spices as well. My mom agreed to go to the cooking class and once again got me to come with her. To say that the Epicure pitch was awkward would be an understatement. Everyone in this group knew Epicure Lady quite well and just wanted to support her, but they didn't actually know anything about Epicure. You see, during Norwex Lady's pitch a few weeks prior, everyone spent the entire time talking about how much they love all natural products, avoid processed foods, avoid unnecessary chemicals, including plastic food containers, and strive for sustainability. I also prefer natural and sustainable products, but I have my limits. I'm not about to stop using chemicals, especially benign ones like isopropyl alcohol and vinegar. Epicure Lady started her cooking class and said that we would be making chicken fajitas. I remember thinking, cool, I love fajitas. But my open mind quickly slammed shut as she took raw chicken breasts and placed them in a plastic steamer that she cooked in the microwave. She explained how great this piece of plastic was for cooking a meal for your family on a busy night and how you can change up your meals by using the convenient Epicure spice mixes. 2 fun facts about my mom. Number 1, she has been slowly eliminating plastic food containers in her kitchen over the years and never microwaves anything plastic, even if it claims to be microwave safe. Number 2, not only does my mom avoid processed foods, but she hasn't bought a spice packet since the invention of Google. She quickly figured out, being the thrifty shopper that she normally is, that she could cheaply make her own spice blends by winging it or Googling a quick recipe online and storing them in her own airtight containers. After the last Norwex party, I knew for a fact that all these women preferred to do the same, and most were even more crunchy granola than my mom and me. They all glanced awkwardly at each other over the pre-packaged seasonings and plastic steamer in a microwave until Epicure Lady had us try the microwaved salmonella. You could hear a pin drop as we all carefully took a bite of this chicken that we were all terrified to try. To add insult to injury, it was incredibly bland. A couple of people made some pity purchases, but Epicure Lady definitely didn't make any money that night. By the time Norwex Lady started her pitch, we were all more than ready to leave, but that didn't stop Norwex Lady from doing her full pitch, even though we had all heard it a couple weeks ago. I just have to pause to address this whole situation of being at an Epicure party doing chicken fajitas in the microwave and everybody being scared to try it. This is giving me deja vu. There was a nearly identical story to this one that was sent to me in 2021, and I included that in MLM Horror Stories number 12. And the kicker to that story is that she actually got sick from it the next day. If I'm remembering correctly, she was at work and it hit her really hard in the middle of the workday and she had to run to the bathroom and it was a big bad situation. I was horrified then and I'm just as horrified now. It almost makes me wonder, in some small world kind of way, when was this party taking place? Were you two at the same party? Or maybe it's just a common Epicure tactic to have these parties and to make chicken fajitas specifically. That could also be the case. But the idea of microwaved chicken makes me want to crawl out of my skin. Absolutely no thank you. The parallels between those two stories are wild though, and isn't that crazy to think that there is someone else out there who may have experienced something just as crazy as you did at one point? That's what I love about these stories so much, is because I think that a lot of people can relate to some of these stories and having been in very similar situations. Fast forward to the Norwex party that my mom agreed to host. For those keeping score, this would be my 3rd Norwex pitch within about 2 months. Norwex Lady did the exact same pitch as the previous 2 parties, but I bit my tongue. This was the night that I would finally crack though. For whatever reason, Norwex lady really emphasized the Clorox wipe part of her pitch that night. She just kept talking about how to keep the surface wet for a whole 5 minutes, you would have to keep wiping the same place for 5 minutes straight. I could feel my blood as it started to boil, and finally I let out a nervous laugh. She looked at me and said, "I know, it's crazy, right?" To everyone's surprise, including my own, I burst out, "No, I just can't stand when people exaggerate things to make a sale." Norwex lady seemed to almost take a step back. She tried to explain that she was reading the instructions straight from the bottle. I'm not sure why this woman had gotten under my skin so much, but this was my breaking point. You're using a dried up container of Clorox wipes and only using 1 wipe at a time. If you were actually cleaning with them, you would use more wipes and go through them faster, and also check to make sure the solution wasn't evaporated. I'm pretty sure she tried to mention something about sustainability at that point, but my mind was racing with things I wanted to say. I wanted to go on about how she barely attempted to wipe the plate with the Clorox wipe, and how I've had students accidentally set their papers on a desk that had just been cleaned with Clorox wipes and their paper would be soaked in solution because it takes so long to dry. I also had done some research about this glow germ demonstration after the last party, and the only thing I can find about Clorox wipes on glow germ is from Norwex and other Norwex Huns. Something tells me that this is not the intended use for glow germ, and that's the real reason it doesn't work. Instead, I quickly left the room and stayed in my bedroom for the rest of the party. I was so embarrassed that I had been so rude. I'm an outgoing person, but I'm not the type to publicly argue with someone. After the party was over, I apologized to my mom for losing my cool during her party, and she said, and I quote, "It's okay, she's used to it." I realized that my mom was probably right. MLM Huns will make the most outlandish claims. I'm sure they get enough backlash all the time that my random outburst didn't sit with the Norwex lady for long. I know this is already long, but I'd like to add one quick story. When I was in middle school, an adult in my life who I'd looked up to more than anyone sold It Works. The impact of hearing an adult that I admired constantly sharing how she was trying to lose weight really did a number on me. I, like many middle school girls, thought I was fat even though I was far from it. Seeing someone who had a similar body type to me trying to lose weight skewed my perspective. It's the exact reason why today, as an adult who is now quite obese, I am careful to keep my weight loss efforts private from any kids in my life. I know watching someone I admired publicly shame herself for her body and try so desperately to shrink herself had quite an impact on how I looked at my own body. Now, as an adult, I model balanced eating and exercise to kids by just living a healthy life and not drawing attention to the fact that I'm also trying to lose weight. I hate health and wellness MLMs because they prey on desperate people just like me who would probably try anything to lose just a little bit of weight. Even if they're not pitching their products to kids, chances are the adults who buy and sell these products have at least one child in their life who looks up to them and wants to be just like their role model. Thank you for taking the time to read my story. Please don't stop doing what you're doing. It's obviously making a big difference. Also, Zeke, please don't stop adding chaos to the world. He has no intentions of ever stopping adding chaos, believe me. And thank you for taking the time to write in your story. And I commend you for attending 3 separate Norwex pitches within a matter of a couple months. That takes some resilience and mental fortitude, I'm sure, to hear the same pitch over and over and see the same demonstrations over and over. It appears like this demonstration with the Clorox wipes doesn't appear to be that sound of an experiment, whatever she was doing. The purpose is obviously to demonize Clorox wipes and chemical cleaning products and to make Norwex look better, but it doesn't seem like it was a very fair experiment. Quickly wiping something with a dried up Clorox wipe versus very carefully cleaning something with a Norwex cloth, like obviously you're going to get different results. And it's in situations like this that I would always urge people to use those critical thinking skills and look past the showiness and the flashiness of it all. And I'm sure she did some fancy swab where it changes color and it shows you that there's no bacteria left over. And it can be easy to just suspend your critical thinking skills in that moment and be like, wow, look at that, it's magic, it works. But my arguments to that are, number one, this is some janky homemade experiment where her methods are clearly skewed. And number two, I would be interested to see a Norwex cloth compared to a different microfiber cloth, one of these ones that goes for like $1 a piece on Amazon. Those results would be way more compelling. Because the question at the end of the day is, why should we be spending $23 on a cloth from an MLM company when there are far more cheaper and more accessible alternatives on the market? For all we know, it does a fantastic job cleaning. That's great. Does it do a better job cleaning than the $1 cloth? We'll never know because that's not the experiment they did. Just little things like that to be aware of when you're in these in-person sales pitches. Whatever they're presenting right in front of you likely is going to be really compelling and convincing, and you don't have much space or time to step back and actually think about it critically. And that's kind of how they get you. That's kind of how they rope you in into signing off and making a purchase that day. And you were in a very unique situation situation having attended the exact same pitch from the same person 3 times in a row. And so by the third time, you have had that opportunity to think critically about it, and now you're getting frustrated. So I completely understand where that frustration comes from. I really appreciate you sending in your story. Thank you. And with that, my friends, that's all the stories I have for you for this episode of MLM Horror Stories. As always, huge shout out to those who wrote in their stories. Thank you so much. Without you, I wouldn't have these videos. We wouldn't be able to spread this message. I'm so appreciative for you. And for anybody else out there who has a horror story they want to send in, the instructions for how to do that are in the description box down below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you in my next one real soon.